short eulogy list, a birthday card for Carol, and this is the eulogy right here. Nothing fancy, nothing formal. Okay. So all of here are going to enjoy nothing but good memories. There's no Kleenex boxes. No. You're going to have fun and smiles telling your stories. Each one hopefully has a story to tell, and you come up here and lean on the stump there and chat away. Okay, here we go. So how did Carol come to be on this earth? She was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Jewish Hospital in 1940. And there she went to school until the third grade. She went through the third grade, and then her father got a job, moved from Cincinnati to New York City, where she then moved to White Plains. And from there, she went in the fourth grade, and she lived about one block down the hill was a big pond, a small lake about a block diameter. So Carol really loved to go swimming with all of her friends in that pond. Okay, so then how did Carol and I meet, though? So folk dancing. How many here are folk dancers? All right, there's the folk dancing crowd right there. Meanie and Scandia Lodge and dancing, and very good times there. So Carol and I met, and we hung out together, and then the Carol's water thing. She went to from high school up to Rochester University in northern New York, and then became a intramural sports, and her choice was synchronized swimming. Okay, different in those days, different in the 60s, where it was very graceful. All you old timers may remember Green Lake and the aqua follies. That's what it's all about. The new activity for your activities of watching on TV, synchronized there, boop, 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 to a beat, a strong beat. No, Carol's music was gentle. It was flowing music.
That's Carol up there flying over.
Yeah. That sounds like a big one. Yeah. That does sound big. Okay, so Carol's choice was the synchronized swimming, and in high school she was also palling around with 10 of her friends. Well, those 10 friends are now down, they were down to 4, and Carol passed away, and now they're down to 3. And boy, I mean, that's a tough crowd, and I'm hoping Matt here can photograph this so we can put it at least on a thumb drive and mail it to them, okay? Well, we'll figure something out. All right. So at folk dancing, then the next step was Meanie Ski Lodge. So, Carol liked to cross-country ski. I liked to downhill. This Meanie Ski Lodge is a great little place up in the mountains, about 10 miles east of the pass. And you go there with your backpack on, sleeping bag, and everything you need, because it's kind of like camping out in a lodge. And then you have a rope tow behind a big snowcat, and you have 2 ropes. You grab a loop, and you just stand there, and all of a sudden, 40 people move out, 20 on each rope, and they tow you 3 miles. So you get there, you sign up for a chore. Everybody does a chore, and that's how the lodge pays for the money and stuff to feed you and while you're there and happy. So we hung out there as a part of the Meanie family for 20 years. It's just fun, place to go. So then with the sailing, another sport, it's water sport again. I had my boat behind me. I had a wooden boat just like it. And so we learned to sail together as a team. We would dump about every half hour, and it takes 20 minutes to swim around and get the boat back up on its feet and climb in and bail it out, and then a half hour later you dump and do it again. But it was fun, so we liked that. And then happened a chance. I was in a sail department store down in Kirkland, and there was a sign said, "We need crew. I need a crew." Well, there was this fellow down in west of Tacoma, and he had a 38-foot sailboat. He's over in the Mediterranean. The boat is parked there. He needs a captain, and he needs a cook. And so we were it. So we got married because we'd have a better time going through customs all along the different countries. So we went over there. We sailed the Mediterranean for about a month and a half. And then I got really sick from handling dock lines in this town on the southern Spain coast. And the town sewer of 1 million people empties out into the yacht basin. So we were anchored out. I rowed the dinghy in, and the lines, for the boat were in the water. And then, of course, I'm handling the lines. Well, my mother told me to wash my hands after I flushed the toilet and use it. She never told me I should wash hands after handling dock lines. Come on now. So I was naive, and I didn't, and I became really sick. So Carol named me her poopsie whoopsie. You didn't know what end was going to explode, sometimes both at the same time. So we had to call the thing off. We went to along the Spanish coast. Then we went over to the Balearic Islands. That's 3 islands in the middle of the Mediterranean that are owned by Spain. And then from there, we went over to Sardinia for about a week. Then we went up to Corsica for a week. And then finally we went up to Monaco. And in Monaco is like an exchange port where boats who are looking for a crew can find it. Crew who are looking for a boat can find it. And everybody get merged up. And so within 2 hours, the new the crew was chosen. There were 2 lady school teachers from England who like to go topless, and so the captain was just ecstatic. It worked out really good for his summer. So then we said, well, what do we do then? Well, we decided we're going to get some kind of, we got a half a year to spend in Europe. And what do we do? Well, we could get a U-Rail pass. We could get on in Italy, sleep overnight, wake up in Switzerland, explore Switzerland city, move to the next. We could sleep on the train for 4 months. Oh, so, but to do that, I said, well, we've got all this luggage, and what do we do with this luggage? So we decided, well, we need to get a hand truck, a dolly. So I'm looking at a hardware store window, and I heard this voice behind me. You work at Sunstrand, don't you? And I said, oh, that's an English voice. And yet it's more, there's Sunstrand. So yes, it was. It was a couple of salesmen from Sunstrand. I worked then at Kistler Instruments as an instrument machinist. And my trademark is a red vest. And I had the red vest on. And so these guys are just sightseeing Monaco, and they said, that's him, driver, stop. And so they were having a yearly sales rep meeting from all the countries around the world in Nice, the town of Nice. So we were invited up on the top penthouse of a Nice hotel overlooking the Med. And now Carol has got this list, and she's going around to the German one. Okay, the German said, okay, when in Germany, in addition to what you ever read in the guidebooks, you need to go here, here, and here. Then we went to the French one, here, here, and here. So by the time we got to these countries, we found all the little tiny spots that are not on any guidebook that are really worth stopping. Well, how in the world are we going to do this? We're going to rent a car. Yeah, we could rent a car in those days for $500 a month. It would buy the car and rental insurance for it for 1 month. and then that we'd have to do it again next month. So we are now camping out in the Atlas Hotel in Cannes, France. And we're just walking around the town, and we see this little street with a little tiny car. It's called a Fiat 500. This thing is shorter, 3 feet shorter than the Volkswagen Beetle. This is a tiny car, 18 horsepower, 2-cylinder, and it said occasion. Well, what is occasion? Well, Carol took French in college for a semester. She said, it's bargain. Well, bargain. So we bought the car, $500. So my thought is, okay, if the car lasts a month, we've equaled what it would cost to rent a real car. Well, the thing lasted and lasted and lasted, and we shipped it home. It lasted another 2 or 3, 4 years. And John and Kelly, they know this car, the little Fiat there. So we drove all around Europe, and it's too small to go on the Autobahn, so we were forced to go on the little 2-lane back roads of the of Europe, and that's where we met real people. We just you go down to New York City and stroll the avenue. You can't stop and talk to somebody. No, my idea of meeting real people is talking to the town drunk in Luxembourg, and he's speaking Luxembourgese and I'm speaking English, but you're communicating. That's what Carol and I do. We sought out different adventures and made the best of it, and met some very fun people.
Sought out the drunks?
Huh?
What does that say now? Were you guys drinkers then?
No, he was just handy there. And he was a sad fellow, like my dad age. Those who fought in World War II, the people from the U.S., they came back, injured. But the same age group in France and Germany and stuff, they were really chopped up, and a lot more wheelchairs, one leg, arms missing. They really got hit hard, and all in the same, generation of men. So it's a pretty sad thing to see. So we had a good time going in the Fiat, and we met some friends along the way. We went up north to Dusseldorf, met her family up there. They said, in about 2 weeks we're having a family reunion down on the Bodensee. This is a lake south of, on the southern border of Germany and France, and the borders on either side of this lake. And so we drove all the way back down to southern France, and went up to the cabin up there in the mountains and had a wonderful time. Carol took a big picture that is not on the sofa. So when you're done here, instead of mingling in the rooms, you got to go into the TV room, and I got Carol's paintings that she did, but we'll talk about the artwork later. Okay. So then a couple of years later, about 20 years later, 30 years later, we thought, let's go back to Europe and we'll trace the route and see how it's changed. So Carol is really good at preparing and researching where to go and how to do it. So she got us hooked up with a little rental place in the Netherlands that rents these camper vans. This camper van is about the size, it's 10 centimeters longer than your Subaru station wagon, and 10 centimeters wider with a fiberglass top. Turbo 4-cylinder stick shift diesel, rack and pinion steering. I loved it. It was fun. And so we set out and we had some more really good adventures. Things change in 20 years' time, more than you would really think. You cannot go back. One of the places we tried to go back to is we had the little Fiat. We're camping out. The town of Arles, where that adventure, the painter cut his ear off. I forget his name. We were kind of stationed around that town. We're about 10 miles north, and we went into the woods and were camped by a little stream. Well, this guy comes down from the mountains and stops, and I don't speak French, and he doesn't speak English, but we both kind of spoke Spanish. And so he was worried that we were smokers and we were going to burn the woods down. And so I told him, we don't smoke at all. We have no campfires to cook on. It's all eating out of a can. So he came back from town and said, you guys can't stay here anymore. You come up and live with us. So we packed up and we stayed with them for about a week. And that was kind of fun. They had about 40 acres of olive trees. And in the old days, Arles, France, his property was the runoff that built an ark, one of these arky things for water, I forget you call them, but it transported the water 10 miles, overhead to the town of Arles. And so he would tell us about that, but he had no electricity. The lights were powered by gas, natural gas, delivered in cans. He had a phone. He used the phone once to call a friend of his. He was into carrier pigeons, and they exchanged pigeons and released the pigeons, and then they used the phone to call, "Hey, Harry, did my pigeon come in yet?" So, these are the kind of people that, and we had, talk about duck eggs, sauteed duck eggs for breakfast in the morning. It was really a good fun thing. That's the people that we found out that we enjoyed the most. Okay, so then we got back and we thought, okay, where I love Arizona. My goodness, my heart semi-lives in Arizona even now. And so one of her friends said, hey, my husband and I are planning a float trip down the Grand Canyon. So we joined up. At that time we had a Volkswagen Rabbit, and we got the Rabbit and we drove down there and had a week on the Grand Canyon. So it's not too late, guys. All you do, you get your luggage, and there's a strong guy that'll pick up your luggage in a waterproof bag, put it in the boat, help you on the boat, and he tells you when to move to the center and hang on, because that way, now you're going down some rapids. How do you know how big and steep they are? Well, it's graded in different. Up here we got 10 levels of river running. Down there they have 6. I got a simpler system. The boatman just steers through it. The boatman puts on his rain jacket. That's number 2. The boat, after we go through the rapid, the boatman counts heads as to who's left. We did turn the whole raft upside down. We slid it over the side of the waterfall and went upside down. And so we did have to have one, and we had to swim a bit. So that's what Carol and I do for excitement. So let's see here. So we floated the Grand Canyon. Well, up here, we floated local rivers. There's quite a few people here kayaked with Carol and I down the Yakima River, went up north up to the, what's the name of that river up north, Barry? It goes to Marble Mount.
Skagit?
Skagit, yeah, the Skagit River. And so we would take people and friends up there to these rivers, and we'd go kayaking for a day and just have a lot of fun. And then stop off at a nice restaurant to celebrate afterwards. Always fun to do, eh? Nice. Okay. So then also we did ocean beaches. We love the Pacific Ocean on the Washington and Oregon shores. And so we would hike over there. We could drive over and do some real serious camping and hiking and just peace and quiet. One time, there's a real nice hike. You drive along from Port Angeles west, and then you get to the town of, it's an Indian village town, Macaw Indian village town. And so from there, you can go south and you come to Lake Ozette. Well, then there's a lake, there's a 3-mile trail you can take. You go out 3 miles this way, 3 miles by the ocean and come back 3 miles on the other trail. And the Cape of Lava is of the continental U.S. And it's just a fun place to go and camp out. But nobody camps here much overnight. There is one place that where you can camp out. But, so Carol's friends from Connecticut, they said, okay, we want to do more. So I don't know how many gallons of water we took, like 5 gallons of water for 3 days. And then we went south about 5 miles from there. And we were the only people in, like 10 miles either direction, alone on the beach that day, because we had water in the pack. So we had some good fun times doing things like that. And then hiking in the mountains here and there, we always enjoyed that, and kind of an offshoot of the ski thing. So then we were getting a little bit old, and we bought a camper van Go. Okay, so now we've got a little 19-foot Dodge camper van. And Dave and Catherine, yeah. Oh, Dave, yeah. Dave remembers this. We went to see him. We're parked in the backyard, and we're ready to leave. Well, I'm plugged into his garage. I forgot to unplug it. And so we're driving off, and Dave comes running out and goes, stop. We came close to dragging his garage down the street.
I didn't want you to pull my garage down.
Yeah, I had a pretty good run at it, about 20 feet. And the line would have went taut. So we had some good times, and always we would go down the coast. Not I-5, but 101, and even farther west if we could, camping out and going down, along the Oregon coast, the Northern California, the Redwoods, and all those beaches, and to all of her family in New York. Seemed like when they retired, they went down to Chula Vista area and San Diego area, Southern California. So we would always stop off to see them when we were there. Then we would go over from Arizona area to see my old Air Force buddy and all my search and rescue guys that I knew and gals that I knew and that trained. So then we would come back up through Utah, and one of our favorite places was Arches National Park. If you ever get a chance, you got to go to Arches National Park and just take some of those trails. They're just awesome. One of our favorite trails is a heavily used one that goes to this, it's called Landscape Art. And it's like, I don't know, 100 feet wide, but it is crumbling a little bit. But it's so thin, you think, what is holding that up? Well, not much. It's going to go down one day. But it's a couple miles back, but people are so anxious to get back to the cars. You're coming back to the car. When the truck is out of control coming down a mountain grade, they have this runaway truck ramp where they can steer off into the gravel and it goes up. Well, for hikers who are anxious to get back to the car, they have a runaway hiker ramp that the trail goes around this way. If you can't make the turn, well, then you can go up about 20 feet up there into the sand there, and then you can turn around. So, but Carol really liked Arches, and I think it's great too. So if you ever get in, there's your Arches in Utah representative right there. See her for tickets for skiing at Park City. She'll fix you up. Okay, so then I don't know. I've never been to Hawaii before, and Carol said, about in 1986. Ken, let's go to Hawaii. And I said, I don't know what's there, but if they're having a solar eclipse there, yeah, I'd go for a solar eclipse. And yeah, she said, well, let's go and not even do it. So another friend of Gary's, Cliff and Val, they can't be here today. They're over on the peninsula. They have their own family reunion. So we met them over there, and we just had a wonderful time. And we decided to go from South Kona area. We hired this Jeep It was going to take us to the top of Mauna Kea. That's the tallest mountain in Hawaii, on the Big Island. And the guys explaining everything, and so the road turned from paved to gravel, and you had to crank up the windows. And he said, "Would you like to listen to some Hawaiian music?" Well, we've all heard. I forget this guy's name. He's a popular disc jockey, singing "Pearly Shells" in English, so I turned on. This was not Pearly Shells. This was Territorial. Oh! I am suddenly Hawaiian, and I still am. My heart's over there, south corner, right now. And so we started going back every year, and we discovered the last Hawaiian fishing village. It's about maybe 50 houses and 150 people. And when we went over in '86, there was no electricity. They had good phone line coming down to the village, but it's all one party line. You got 50 houses on one phone line, so it was kind of tough. But no electricity. So what did they do? Well, they had kerosene lanterns at night, and then my friends Willie and Anita, they ran a general store there, and at night Anita would like to watch TV. So she had a little 9-inch 12-volt portable TV running on 12 volts. So Willie devised some clamps that would clamp onto the TV set, open the hood of his car, and whoop, Anita had TV. So I used to be in a sports car rallying, and one of the things for night rallying, I made up a clipboard, and it had a couple of 12-volt lights coming out. So I'm going to make up a clipboard like that for Anita, so that Willie can plug her in, and now she can watch also her read on her books instead by kerosene lantern. Wow! The next time we went back, we were members of the village, and so we kind of like semi-joined the local church there, and so then we went back every Thanksgiving for a week. I would go for I went for 3 weeks vacation. Carol went for 2. I would go a week early and get a little bobtail Jeep, and so I could go around the island finding out where to visit my friends over there. And then we went from there. We would go to an outer island, but we always then had Thanksgiving dinner about 100 feet from the ocean, and they don't have what you think is a Hawaiian dinner. No, it's turkey. The turkey dinner there, and the gravy, and a little bit just like you guys would have up here in the States. So we did that every year for about 15 years straight there. So we are, and then Carol and I said, well, we just can't keep going like this. We need to up our game. So we both liked Hawaiian music, and so we took hula lessons. Now, hula lessons, they're a lot harder than it looks. You see the hula gals. Okay, no, you're doing something with your feet. You're doing something with your hands. The hands tell the story. So here's the hula band. Okay, you got to bend your knees. If you don't bend your knees, your hips don't sway. So now you can step, and every time you take a step, your hips sway. So it's left, right, left, close, and you point your toe. Right step, point. You go back and forth like that. So that's a good thing to practice on. Then you're supposed to be telling the story. This is the wind. Makani. Ka-K-A is the. Makani is the wind. It's like this. And so whether the wind is coming from that direction or this way, the wind is coming from that direction. So you're telling a story. You can't imagine how clumsy I felt. Carol got it pretty good, pretty quick. But I had trouble with it. I have no sense of rhythm or beat. So we had a good time there. And then we went 1 week to the outer islands. We went to the town, the island of Molokai. Molokai has the leper colony. Okay, and there's a trail down there, and you ride a mule down the path through the trail. So this, we had to do that, of course, but we stayed. Oh, well, first of all, we're down immediately. There's a birthday party going on, and so the people came from all over the islands to attend this birthday party. And so we met these three ladies that were from Molokai. Wow, we're going to Molokai. So we met these two ladies. One of them was the manager of the hotel that we were going to stay in when we got to Molokai. So we were basically all checked in and friends with the manager when we got there. That was a great thing. And so we just happened to pick the honeymoon suite. That was the one we had to get. So we had a nice visit there. And so Carol loves fresh bakery. When we're in Italy, when we're in France, in the camper van, we would go to the campground headquarters, and every morning the baker from town would come with new croissants or breadsticks, almost still warm out of the oven. So there's a famous bakery, a Molokai bread. So Carol has to try Molokai bread. So we're walking down the street. Kaunakakai is only about maybe 3 blocks long on the business district. Well, one of my old Air Force buddies that I used to work with there, he was Hawaiian. So I've been trying to figure out where, every time we go to Honolulu, how you're going to find Ralph. So his name is Kanumitsu. So we're walking down there and said, Kanumitsu Bakery. And so I'm thinking, and Carol says, bakery. And so we went in there and said, hi, is Ralph here? No, Ralph owns a hardware store across the street. It was him. And so Carol got her baked goods. I went over to meet my old friend that I hadn't seen in 30 years. And we hit it off. Well, owning a hardware store, Ralph knows everybody on the whole island of Kaunakakai town and the rest of the whole island. You need a part, you got to go see Ralph's, the hardware store. So he's also one of the county commissioners of the island. He knows everybody. He's got a master key. Next day he takes off and he takes us on a master key back road Jeep tour where tourists don't go. And we saw some waterfalls and sights that are just mind-boggling. And the stories that go with them. A short story. Well, tax time, there's your IRS guy. Be careful what you say around him because he may be recording. So, but how does a Hawaiian pay his taxes? He will go up for 1 week. The man of the family goes up. And this was the time when sandalwood was very popular in China. And so they would clear sandalwood forest off and ship it up. Well, how much is a boatload? You had to get a boatload. What they did is they dug a hole in the ground like this, the shape of a boat. Okay, the boat hull. And so you chop your wood, and you brought it, and as soon as that was full, that was a full boatload, and then you transported it back down to the dock, and your taxes are paid for the year. So that's how you paid taxes in the old days in Hawaii when Hawaii was a territory. Okay, so now also, Carol, of course, almost all of you know, was into artwork. She was an artist. Her uncles on the Welker side of the family, the mother's side, they're draftsmen, they're artists, they're painters. So genetically, Carol had this in her system. So in the TV room, I've got some of Carol's watercolor paints there. She was also into handcraft. She just didn't stop there. No, she did artwork, embroidery with yarn and stuff like that. Shirts. So this shirt has enough material in it to make 3 shirts. But if you look at it very close, like here's a little white stem that goes right across. This leaf is right where it should be. Everything that goes across the seam to do that took a lot of time, patience, and artistic thought to do it. So she was gracefully talented. She was into pine needle baskets in eastern Washington. They have pine needles like that long. So she would go over gather up pine needles and bring them back and weave them into little baskets. And so some of her basket work is over on the sofa there. You do just browse up and down at some of it. And then she's into paper origami and folding things up on a very small scale even. So she just loved doing that. And then she went to music. She learned to play, I guess, probably at home. Maybe they had a home, when she was living in White Plains, a piano. So we got a piano here. But then when we just got back from our honeymoon, we moved into an apartment in the downtown Kirkland, and the manager there was and became our good lifelong friend. Some reason I brought home an accordion, a $5 accordion from a thrift store, because all the notes are built in. I've been trying to play the ukulele for, 75 years. I've been trying. I have no rhythm. There's the guy with rhythm, but you give that guy a drum and boy, he's led the band, haven't you?
Yeah.
So I have no rhythm. I have no sense of what the note is supposed to sound like. Dave says he's got better than perfect. Is something else? Pitch?
Absolute pitch.
What?
Absolute.
Absolute pitch. I have. It's a note between about here and here. Dave is down. It's a note between right there and there. Really a difference. But the ukuleles sound good even if you make a mistake. And I'm the only person who knows that makes a mistake. So Carol, we got this accordion. Carol's plucking around with it because we didn't have a piano. So later then bought her own, really nice Honer, and took lessons on playing it. And then the apartment manager, she got an accordion. And so the three of us got together for the Titanic Trio. The Titanic Trio was probably the worst we have ever seen or heard. We started on an old English going da 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 da. We started perfectly. The middle was a disaster, but we finished all in the same note at the same instant. She had fun with that and that little accordion. Where did we get our own accordion that we actually bought for real? It's that high, and it's in the living room, just beyond the food table. It's that high, little Honer. We were, touring in Tucson, and then we went down to Nogales, Mexico, and there's a second-hand store, and there's this little accordion in the window. Well, how much you want for it? You want $100? Oh my goodness, that's a lot of money. So we went from there. We went back up to the U.S. side to a music store in U.S. Nogales, and said, "Well, that's a good price. If the accordion works, that's a good price." So we went down and bought it. That was before we went on got married. That'd be before we got married. Yeah. And so we bought that, and Carol learned to play that. So when we got the invitation to go sailing, Carol had to take that accordion with us on our trip to the Mediterranean. So we put it in, and by golly, we were in the bow of the boat. And the bow of the boat, we normally have a V-berth, but this particular boat, they were like stacked. So you could get people like that. I had the top one. Well, there's one little cabinet that the accordion fit in perfectly. This is going to be a great trip. We're going to have music on board, and we did. We had music. So Carol really likes music, and we even have some. Oh, John. It's called a rain stick. So it's kind of a rhythm stick, and it's a piece of cactus with nails driven in it, and then they add some kind of rocks, and you turn it upside down, and it sounds like tinkling rain as the rocks, go past the pins inside. So John has got one. So yeah, You want to play it? It's right there, right by the piano. You want to pick it up and shake it and play it.
I think you can handle
So
that.
it's all yours to mess around with. Okay, so then we went up to see Dave and Catherine's father and mother. They were up in Anchorage. And again, Carol comes through with a superb job of planning these adventures. Now, you can go, yes, on the Holland America. I recommend the Holland America. It's a great line, and we've done it a couple times. But we got Van Gogh. What do we do? So we're going up on the Alaska Ferry. That's where the real people live. They're half of the tourists on the ferry are not in staterooms. No, they got their tents pitched on the back deck of the ferry. And so we got Van Gogh underneath. We'd pull into Ketchikan, get out on Van Gogh, and then we'd stay there for about maybe 2, 3, 4 days exploring Ketchikan. And then Carol then booked us on another boat that came through. We went up to like Sitka, and then we'd spend 2 or 3, 4 days there, and again up to Juneau. And then from Juneau, we went to across to, what's the town that had the earthquake? Not
Valdez?
Anchorage, but there's another one.
Valdez or Seward? Seward?
No, not
Valdez?
Seward, a small town. They totally got wiped out.
Cordova.
Cordova, yeah. So that's where the ferry went from Juneau. It went to Cordova. Well, so Van Gogh, you just drive it on. You know, the cars that you're driving on. Wow. So we're getting ready, and I forgot something. I had to go down and get out of Van Gogh for luggage. Wow. The guys at the work crew of the boat are chaining the cars down to the deck with chains and ratchets and stuff. And these cars are squatting under tension. And instead of going up the stairs, there are now vomit bags stationed very conveniently. I thought, what in the world are we getting into? And indeed, there is a kind of an ocean motion that really can get quite to your tummy. So that was fun, and we got off there, and then we had a fun time taking about a week to go to Anchorage and State Fair, and then coming back through the Yukon Territory, northern British Columbia, and stuff like that. So she was just so good at pre-planning, finding the adventures of this, where to go and how to get to the adventure sites, and what connections do we have to make. So then we're just kind of passing time. We finally came to the point where I'm getting too old to get under Van Gogh with a screwdriver, wrench, and voltmeter. Carol's getting too old to get up, and stand making dinner there. So we decided to pass the van on, and Roy got the van. I drove it back, and what was that year? 2022? It was after COVID. I think it was 2022 or 2021.
No, I think it was before COVID.
Before COVID, that long. It had been 2019 then.
I think 2019.
Wow, that long. The older you get, the faster the time goes. Yeah, all you gray-haired people, you guys know that. So we passed the van on, and had many good memories in that van. And now we're just Carol and I, and we'll take an occasional trip, in the car with the Prius going here and there, but nothing major. Well, then Carol's father died from stacked strokes. He was very susceptible to getting stroke. Well, that was genetically passed on to Carol. Luckily for you guys, not her brother yet. Probably never will if he hasn't gotten any strokes by now. He never will. So, but Carol had strokes, and so she started having strokes to the point where about the year 2022 summer maybe, Carol was a really good investor of money. She was the money manager. I was the manager of the car and the toilet mechanic and the electric mechanic. And also I do a great job at the dish sink, getting them clean. So we each had our talents, and I had a chat with John Kelly also, but the deal is here, when you get to be old, you really got to make plans. And so one of the plans that finally she had so many strokes she went into rehab, but then into long-term care. We had to sign up for a death program. We're all going to die. We're going to kick the bucket. So, well, what do? You know, you're going to die, and then your spouse has to go through the yellow page of the phone book looking for a mortuary. No. You've got to have something going first. So, the first week that Carol was in Gabe's critical care, long-term care, we had to get that. So I went down to in Renton here. Jimi Hendrix is buried at the Greenwood Memorial Center down there, and so I signed up for both of us, just bare bones cremation package. So this thing covers for that package. We take a trip over to Italy. One of us dies. They will send, if we had a body for burial, they would ship the body over. But since we're going to be cremated, they would probably cremate me in Italy and then send Carol over with a box of meat. So that's all. Wherever you are in the world, you are, down in California, down in Florida, doesn't matter. This plan. So you got to work with a plan, and now it's all paid up. If somebody passes away, spouse passes away, we just call the funeral home, and they will arrive with the hearse, take the body. They first of all in King County, they have to take it to King County morgue, and then they'll take it to the Greenwood facility for being cremated. So I urge all of you to get a plan and get it set, because I thought, well, I got it all. Wow, that's great. Now I'm covered. Well, I'm thinking, wait a minute, Roy, cowabunga, I can't do this to Roy and pass away. And so Roy is going through a phone book on the telephone, finding a mortuary to send me to. No, it's all paid up now. So all he has to do, they will notify, come and pick up your ashes, or we'll send it to you. So Roy someday will get a box of meat, probably about like that. So this is what I urge everybody to do. So that's about it. That was Carol's life. And 1 week, Carol moved into the Greenwood or to her long-term care in the middle of December, and she died the 28th of February. So only 2 months after we made this agreement with the Greenwood, she died. And there's a picture of her, on the board with her and I. That's in the care facility, and that was taken about 2 weeks before she died. How she died, she had something go wrong with the plumbing of her heart, where you got your arm muscle, and you got arteries taking new, fresh oxygen, the old CO2 out, fresh minerals and vitamins and stuff to keep that muscle going. Well, you cut it off, and then the muscle only can start by basic function by eating itself. So in the afternoon, one of the people that were in Carol's facility got up from his table, and he's going outside, but he's wobbling all over the place through a back glass door. Carol saw this. She jumped up out of her chair, got her walker, and had him off the pass. Called the Gabe, because the caretaker, and he came and got the guy sitting back down. So she does this heroic thing. That evening, after they ate, they put her to bed. Everybody goes to bed about 7:30, and she woke up at 9:30 and said, "I can't breathe." Everybody wears a pendant, and she's pushing a button, and Gabe comes in. That's Gabriel for short. Okay, so Gabe comes in and says, "Okay, I'm going to call 911." 911 comes and says, we can't find anything wrong with her." So they said, Gabe says, there's something wrong with her, do something. So they sent her to the hospital, and then with the hospital, they put her into the emergency room, and so I came in, and about a half hour after she was there, they got the IVs in and stuff like that, she was just like scared, and I came back, a big smile come on her face that she was happy and smiling. And so the doctor came in and did the initial assessment, more blood taken. So now we're waiting till midnight, 15 minutes after midnight, the lab report, which is going to take 45 minutes, was going to come back, and we could find out why she's having a hard time breathing. So that was at 11:30. Well, we're talking about happy things. We're going to get together with Gary and some of our other friends. We're going to go to a Chinese place up there in Newcastle and just have a nice, fun time. We're talking about the future and fun things that we're going to do, because Carol is good for day trips out of there. So, then about a quarter till, she was just kind of, I don't know, kind of sagging down, you might say, and the tone of the conversation just kind of quieted down. Well, at 10 till, she said one of three things, I don't know which. I think I'm going to die, I'm going to die, or I am dying. I said, whoa. I held her hand even tighter and said, no, just hang on. And the lab report will come back, and they'll get you all mended up, and we can go on with our plans. So then she just kind of went to sleep at about 10 till. At exactly high midnight, she sat straight up in bed and had a horrible look on her face and said, no, and died. And that was it. So that's the story of Carol from beginning to end. So now it's your turn. What do you know? Where did you meet Carol? Where did you have some really fun times? What did you plan together, and how did you do it? So here's the podium right there, and here's the leaning post. Who's up first? Take it away, guys. Now it's my turn to sit.
Okay, as I mentioned to some of you, I met Carol, I have no idea, it could be about 40 years ago. Amazing. I was working as a school district occupational therapist during the summer and was helping children in their summer school. And Carol was working in Bellevue, and so we met each other on the trail, and we bonded. It was incredible. And so one of the things that she loves water, and she loves to swim, and she loves to canoe and kayak. And I live in Steilacoom, and a fellow started a canoe race during our summer salmon bake. And so Carol and I got in a canoe, and it was Ham Rideout, who worked for Recreation Equipment, and his wife and sister-in-law were arguing. So Carol and I won the first race, and we did that for many years. And as time passes, we would just walk along the shoreline and say, hey, will you join us? We're having a race. Come on. And so we would tend to win first place for category and age. And each time we get a blue ribbon. And so then Ham Rideout retired from being the leader, and another recreation equipment company took over. And so we won again. And we said, we haven't received a ribbon this year. And they sort of walked away. And they came back later with gift certificates to a local exclusive restaurant in Steilacoom, E.R. Rogers, and gave us four tickets for brunch at E.R. Rogers for our husbands and us.
Kenny's younger sister. I wasn't the youngest sister, but the middle sister. And when I met Carol, and I know that we did a lot of family things and stuff like that. And I remember my daughter was interested in music and stuff like that. And Carol let her take her accordion home, and my daughter had it for about a month. And my daughter learned to play the accordion, and Carol taught her how to do that. And I always remember that was such a neat thing to let her take something that was so prized home with her so that my daughter could play it. And we did a lot of family things. We did the boat thing down to Yakima. I couldn't go because I had a tube in my ear and I can't get water in my ear. I still have a tube in my ear. It's the third tube, but there's still a tube in my ear. So that's how I kind of knew Carol from Kenny, stopping by. We did all the camping things. Kenny was much more camping because Kenny and I got lost up in Mount Rainier when I was 12.
Guilty as charged.
That's because we were supposed to go to the lookout and see Emmons Glacier. We weren't supposed to go to the actual glacier and take ice off it. But we did.
Sounded like a good idea at the time.
Yeah, my mom and dad weren't very happy about it. We got yelled at when we got back, and the Mount Rainier's, what? Bounties? I can't count them Mounties.
Did the ice last when you got back?
No.
No, it didn't even make it to the trail.
No.
And it was cold in the hand. You can't imagine how cold the glacier ice is.
And we found his sweater that he had put on a rock, so we'd kind of know when we were supposed to turn, but we never found my coat that was tied to a tree. By the time we got back, when it gets dark up there in Mount Rainier, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. So.
Yeah, coming back, we hit the moraine. We couldn't find the coat, so we started going up on. We found the trail naturally because it crosses. So it is really dark. So we were walking on the trail, looking up to see where the skylight was clearer than the darker trees on the side. So we're following the trail by looking up at the sky. And then after about a half hour, here comes the light, the ranger.
No, it's Hartlop had the light. He borrowed the
was the
light
ranger
from
not there, just Hartlop?
No, yeah, it was Hartlop.
Yeah. Oh, so how we got there, Hartlop was had a 1949 or 50 black Cadillac convertible with
49.
red seats. Was it?
49 with
49.
red leather seats.
And every year we would all pile in convertible top down and go to Mount Rainier. Good childhood memories.
Have you been back to that spot since?
I've been back up to Mount Rainier, but not to I didn't ever try to go back out to the glacier.
Look for your coat.
It's probably still there. Maybe the buttons are on the ground.
I kept thinking that
The glacier's not still there, so
Yeah, it's probably now about a quarter mile up more on the mountainside.
So
Yeah.
when we see that photo of Bigfoot, he'll be wearing your coat.
yeah, coat. Yeah, that was one of the things that Kenny and I did when I was a kid. Go and get lost up at Mount Rainier. But he was into mountain climbing too. You were going to go on when you were 21, and when I was 21, and when I was 21, I didn't get to go. I was pregnant with my son, so. And now my son's 54, so.
Whoa, that's old.
I know.
And you're only 47. How do you manage that, Gloria?
I don't know.
So I was living in Kansas when I heard about them going out on their grand adventure across Europe, and didn't even know about her until that point. You know, back in the day when we didn't have internet, you know, still had to use tin cans and things like that. Anyway, from there, I went into the Air Force and landed down in Tucson, and one day Dad calls up and says, "Come up here, bring Matt too." And Matt was pretty small,
Months?
probably months at that point, yeah, or maybe a year or so old.
Months. There's pictures of me in a sock.
No, that was different.
Oh, they're
a
different.
one. Yeah,
Oh.
this was probably, well, matter of fact, that was the sweater incident year.
No, the sweater incident year was the one, I was older than that.
You were about 3 or 4 at that point. We came up here and spent a week or so up here, and got to meet Carol for the first time in person. And I'm just floored by her creativity, her talents, you know, and everything. And maybe I'm mixing up a couple trips, but we ended up going out to a family get-together on the Nielsen side, I think it was.
Nielsen, yeah.
Yeah, and we somehow got this oversized sweater. Maybe it was Dad's sweater. I don't know. You know, and the arms were on him. Again, he was tiny, but annoying. Not that that's changed a whole lot, but he had the arms were long, and somebody finally tied the sweater arms together on him out there. But you know, I just have been so impressed with everything she has done throughout her life, creativity, and she never stuck with one thing. You know, just doing one thing. She explored so many things, from the pine needle thing to painting to sewing, and I know I forget a lot of the things that she has done, but. And you can see them throughout there, but you know, every Christmas we would get something in the mail, and usually something that she had done artistically. It's like, wow, this is so cool, and you know, she was just a wonderful person, as everybody here knows, and just really loved her. I was proud to call her my mother, even though she was stepmother. But I loved her greatly because she was a really great person.
Yeah, thank you very much, Roy, for good memories.
Yeah.
I met Carol probably about the same time Ken did at Scandia and Mountaineers. I was an avid folk dancer and did a little hiking. And Carol and I did some little hiking without Ken on nice, easy trails on Mount Rainier. And I started, there were some times when Ken and Carol didn't have any family available at Thanksgiving. And so I invited them to Thanksgiving dinner with my family. I grew up in Olympia, and a lot of my family was in this area. So, and I remember one Thanksgiving, we were at my house, which was at that time across the street from Ravenna Park, just north of the University of Washington. And there was a storm that Thanksgiving, and the power went out. And one of the things I remember is that Ken and one of my uncles were put in charge of turning the turkey pan around in the fireplace so that it didn't burn on one side and not get cooked on the other side. And Carol and I and my mother were cooking the rest of the Thanksgiving dinner on little one-burner camp stoves set next to the window with the window open a crack so we didn't get asphyxiated by the kerosene stoves. And we had a lovely Thanksgiving dinner. That was probably the best turkey ever. And just in time to do the cleanup, the power came back on.
Oh, good.
So I'm Catherine. I'm Carol's niece. Carol has an older brother, and so I'm the youngest of his children. And so that side of the family is spread out. We've lived all over the country, so I did not get to see Carol a lot growing up. They were in Washington, and we lived everywhere. We sort of skirted around the country. I was born in Texas, and then we lived in Florida and Vermont, and moved up to Alaska, and then I went to Utah, and then abroad. And so we didn't get to visit them a lot, but I remember visiting when we were on our way back from Alaska one year, and I remember being treed by Daisy.
Daisy. Oh, Daisy.
Getting chased around the yard by Daisy, and then I remember climbing a tree, thinking I had to. For whatever reason.
Does everybody know what Daisy was?
Yeah, Daisy was our escape artist, Siberian Husky.
I'm sure it was so vicious that I had to escape.
Oh yeah, so vicious.
I don't know. In my mind, that was it. So, but Carol was so good at bringing the family together. She was really wonderful at telling the old family stories, and we had a big family reunion. That she was vital to organizing, and on the Welker side of the family, she was really integral to helping organize that and bringing everyone together and making sure everyone knew who everyone was, and getting everyone's information together, and sharing some of the old stories from everyone. And that's what it really strikes me, is that she was so good at sharing these at bringing people together, and sharing the stories that she had, and she could gather these moments and these stories and people together.
The story.
No, not one in particular, but there were some special things she did for me. When I was moving up to Alaska, I know her and Ken made a special effort to get a reservation for me, because I traveled by myself, and I flew from Vermont. My mother was already in Alaska, and my father was coming later. And so they made a special effort to get a window seat table at the Space Needle, and take me to dinner, which was really neat. And then another time, the last time I had come out was with my family, and I was running the Seattle Rock and Roll Marathon. And their friend was the editor of the Northwest Runner magazine, and that was my first and only magazine cover. So I'm on the cover of Northwest Runner magazine. I am. Me and my children, who were like 3 and 5 at the time. So, yeah, it's a really neat experience, and it's those kind of things, where she can bring people together. Yeah. We were in Anchorage. Yeah. So.
Chips. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Catherine, already told you most of our story. Of all the places that we lived, none were particularly close to Seattle, so we never really got here much to see Carol or Ken. But I remember the time that we stopped on our way back from Alaska in 1987. I remember Daisy, and I remember I got to play Carol's accordion, and I was pretty good at it, I think. I figured it out pretty easily. There was another time I was driving down from Fairbanks to California to start a new job, and Seattle's sort of in the way, so you got to stop there. And I stayed with Carol and Ken for a few days, and naturally it rained almost every day, and except for the last day. And that day we took advantage of the break in the weather, and we went out to, I think it was Lake Union, where we had fish and chips. We rented a rowboat and we took it out into the middle of the lake. I think they conned me into rowing it, and we had a nice evening picnic out in the middle of the lake on the rowboat.
Dave.
I'm Gary Campen, and I've known Carol since she was working at Boeing way back in the 60s. And so we go back a long way. And by the way, I wanted to interrupt and give a little bit of praise to Ken, because in some ways this was the best eulogy I've ever heard in my life. And the reason was it was filled with wonderful stories, a whole series of stories. And even when I wasn't part of the story, it was at a place I remembered, so it triggered all sorts of happy memories for me. And so again, I loved your eulogy, Ken. It was great, and I have no stories to top Ken's stories. One of the earliest memories I have, I had a bunch of friends at Bowie, and Carol was part of this little group, and I seem to remember that we were all watching the moon landing together, in my apartment on Capitol Hill, and that's one thing. And of course, I was going to folk dancing with the Mountaineers, so Carol was part of that. But the memories, the best memories I have, really, are after Carol married Ken, and the two of them did great things. And one of the fun things we did together was river rafting. They had floatable rafts, and I had an inflatable kayak, and we floated some of the rivers in the Pacific Northwest. And I don't have any great stories about the rivers, but I remember on the Stillaguamish, we floated it one year when the water was low, and in really shallow places where there are inflatables, if you laid way back, you could just glide over the rocks, and the rocks sort of gave you a little massage as you bumped over the rocks in your inflatable. And I remember other rivers, the Skagit, we'd pull out at an eddy, eddy out and have a snack, have some delicious food, then on we'd go. And the Sandy River in Oregon, we floated down the Sandy, and I think we ended with chicken and dumplings at a little restaurant by the riverside. And as we ate our chicken and dumplings, you could watch, other floaters floating down the river past us. And so there are a lot of great memories connected with that. Did we also walk up in the Columbia River Gorge, there's a really distant waterfall.
Multnomah.
Okay, no, Multnomah is the big wonderful waterfall.
Were you the one that came with us where we were climbing over logs?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So that was one of the big adventures that we've all been to Multnomah Falls, but there's another very steep falls at the end of a long gorge. And that was an adventure that Ken and Carol and I did that was, fairly difficult. We had to climb over, we had to go upstream, and there was no trail to the falls. You just waded upstream in the stream, and sometimes I think it was up to our chest in places.
Yeah.
And then in other places there were log jams. We had to climb over the logs. But we finally won our way through to this really tall waterfall. Beautiful water.
It was a box canyon with moss and ferns and stuff. Just gorgeous with this waterfall coming down.
Yeah, it was a gorgeous spot.
Worth the hike.
Worth the hike, and not many people make that hike. And, unless they've cleared a trail or cleared the debris, it's still a pretty challenging walk. But that was one of the peak things I think we did together that I really remember that. It was a great experience. And aside from that, I just can't think of great stories, but obviously Carol was a wonderful person and just fun to talk to. The best conversationalist I think I've known. So I liked her for a variety of reasons, and we'll all miss her, and that's about all I have to say, I guess.
Oh.
Yakima River. And so the three of us, Carol and Ken and I, went and they had their kayaks, and I do not remember whether I was in a canoe or a kayak. I'd had more experience with canoe. And so we were paddling
You
down
wouldn't
really
have been
hot.
in a canoe on the
Huh?
Yaga. You would have been in a kayak of some sort.
Okay, good luck to me.
Probably one of my inflatables.
Oh, that could be. Okay, so it was a really hot day, and we were going down Yakima River, and suddenly Carol capsized. And she came up and she said, "This is cold water."
So we've known you for 40 some years. And I was just thinking how life is a circle. We used to look at Ken and Carol like they were the old people in the neighborhood. And they watched our children grow up from little, and they were very sweet to them. And I love Daisy, so did my sons. We are now the old people in the neighborhood.
We've been
And-
told we're Ken and Carol.
And we're watching the people that live there now. Their kids are, growing up. And in fact, the neighbor across the street, Tamara, she said she remembers Carol would, told her that she'd take her coffee grounds and put it in the dirt outside on the big hill there, the tree. And I'm now doing that. I thought that was kind of funny. I'm doing the same thing. So it's like a big circle how we come around. And Carol was very artistic, as y'all know. She'd make little Christmas cards and bring them over to me. They were the best Christmas cards, like little ornaments. And I've got a handful that I put on my tree every year, and I love those. And one thing I used to do for her was every May Day I would pick flowers out of my yard and put them on her doorstep. And she didn't know who it was for years until she finally said, "That was you, wasn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, I just wanted you to have flowers." She was a sweet woman. And
I do remember when we moved in, Ken and Carol were there, already in their place. She brought over something she baked and welcomed us to the neighborhood. It was real nice. And another time, I remember Ken, I don't know, it was a joint, they said, "Hey, we'd like your son to wash our car, to have him a neighborhood job from a neighborhood kid." So our son went over, and lo and behold, the look on Carol and Ken's face when they said, "Your son used a green scratch pad on our car." And there were marks all over it. And I'm going, this is going to be an expensive lesson. But yeah.
I forgot about that. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You were very understanding about it. Thank you.
Every year, we would always get that ceremonious call on our birthday, and they would sing happy birthday to us.
Birthday.
Right. I
Every
remember
year.
sitting by the phone going, when are they going to call? Should come in any minute. But they were great neighbors, and
I can't believe it's been 15 years since you moved, but
yeah.
oh well. No wonder with the old people in the neighborhood.
She was a good neighbor. I learned more from your stories today. I went, God, I didn't know that about Carol. She was quite the adventurer. We're going to miss her, and she was a great person.
So now also on May is a very happy day over in the Hawaiian Islands, and we would go to Gary's was a professor at Seattle U.
Yeah.
So they have a May Day program because a lot of Hawaiians come to go to Seattle U. Well, at the end of the festivities, they imported all these good Hawaiian flowers and things. We would bring them home, and there's this, I don't know what you call it, but it's kind of an orange flower like that. But it has a very sturdy stalk, and so in the middle of the night, I would put these stems down into your front yard flower box, and the one that coupled in Phil's neighborhood, or neighbor behind, stick them in there. Phil never caught on that they weren't his.
We kept going, let's stay up and see which neighborhood troublemakers sticking it crap in our yard.
And their son, little Johnny, we had this kind of like a small forest, about maybe 20 feet by 20 feet, and Johnny had little Tonka toys,
Yeah.
a little grader and stuff like that, and he would come over and build highways through the forest. So always good memories there.
And now when we tell the neighbors that bought your house those stories, they look at us like this funny look, and they go, "You are kidding, Carol."
We've turned into you. Yeah.
So the tradition goes on.
The tradition, that's what it's all about.
That's it,
For
right.
sure.
yeah.
Well,
Kind of a circle.
this is nice to be able to do this for her. She would appreciate it.
Yep.
She's looking down, going, "You're
There
all a
she
bunch
is,
of
right there.
knuckleheads."
Smiling.
Yeah, right.
She's laughing at us, for sure. Yeah.
Carol from pretty much my entire life. She's always been my grandma. She taught me how to play piano over a summer. Grandpa tried to get me to play the accordion. That didn't work out so well, I don't think. I think that went back up into the closet very quickly. After about a week, was it, Grandpa? Yeah, about a week, I
The
think.
notes are all built in. That's what I like about some instruments.
Yeah, but they weren't very built in. I might be able to keep a beat, but I can't. I get the tone from you, Grandpa. I can't carry a tone for anything.
Sad.
It's sad. But the whole summer I was here, I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I just remember we did so much. It was a summer of fun. We went out kayaking. I remember we went to see old car races. We went to Oregon. We went to see Aunt Carol. We just went everywhere, and she was always a positive and uplifting person. And then my kids got to have that same experience with her when they were about the same age. And even now, my kids are like, "Oh yeah, I remember going to Arkansas, and we did this and that, and Grandpa and Grandma took us here." And it was just so much fun, and my kids loved it, and they were very fond of everything. And they're sad that they couldn't come up, but we've got a lot of things going on at home as well, and animals and appointments and everything else. But to me, she was just always a wonderful person to be around. Always fun to be around, too. If Grandpa wasn't having fun, Grandma was having fun. Somebody was going to have fun. And you could just always have fun as a kid around them, because they were just big kids themselves. Just always looking at, like, hey, what can we do? What new thing can we learn how to do? And just expanding our own horizons. And that's the thing that I always learned and took from her. And me, myself, I carried that into adulthood. I learned a lot of different things all at once. So, to me, that I am going to definitely miss her. She was a wonderful person, and she will be greatly missed.
Okay, we get on to phase 2. So we're traveling around a little 18 horsepower car, putt, all around Europe. In the meantime, she's making something about this big, but she's stitching it. It's of an alpine little chalet of house with the mountains in the background. We stopped at every small town to get a special color of yarn for that picture. We saw so many yarn shops and had so many adventures finding yarn shops in tiny towns. Just a wonderful thing. So now, are there any people that do yarn work here? That play with yarn? You want some yarn? You're the first one. You got it all, right? Are there any other takers for yarn? Okay, Catherine, we'll hire a moving van. Okay. How about scraps? She was into making quilted, the scrap quilts. She had one that won a prize at the state fair. I don't know where it is up there, on the second floor someplace.
so it's kind of lost for the summer. Nice in the wintertime to cuddle up underneath it. So is there anybody that does quilting? Okay, you take all the quilting supplies.
No, I have enough fabric. I have all my own fabric.
a lot of fabric.
I inherited my mother's fabric too, so.
You want the fabric?
If it isn't like that much,
A couple boxes. Yeah, they'll fit in Gloria's car
I'll take
or
it.
your car, whoever.
And if I can't use it, I know people who can.
Good. I want it passed on and
will be.
used. Okay. Art supplies. Do we have any people who are watercolor painters here? Kelly.
Yeah.
We the crowd have just had a vote, and you are the designated painter of the crowd.
Oh, really?
You're going to take it up in your old days.
Time out.
Oh, okay. So now I have to find out. Well, the program was going to be everybody takes one scoop, goes to a tree, another scoop, goes to another. That's 3 trips in and out. I thought, well, that's going to take a long time to do. But then I got to use the same coffee scoop. Hey, wait a minute, can you send that coffee scoop in? I got to make another pot. That isn't going to work. No way. So I was experimenting around the other night, and I said, okay, there's Carol. We need 20 spoonfuls. And so I got the sugar bowl out, and this is enough for all 3 trees. So what we're going to do is to again with a little thing right here. Sprinkle. So that's the whole program.
Only you would think of that. How many scoops?
Yep. Yeah, kind of like my sister Carol in Eastern Washington. She had a horse named 2 Scoops to Go.
3 scoops to go.
3?
Yes.
3
She's
scoops.
the mare that I have cremated in the box.
3 scoops to go. Okay. So here's 1 scoop for 3 trees to go. Okay, so I'm going to start it off here. Here's Carol.